You know, when I'm playing that, I'm not actually thinking of any chords or anything. I'm actually hearing each piece of what I'm playing and just going as if I was whistling a song or whistling a tune. One of the things that I'm working on today is kind of the music or the death gig, which is examining, well, first a little backtracking. I have been attending a lot of funerals, different denominations, etc. And one of the things that I want to examine, this isn't something I can ask about, like who am I going to ask? The the bereaved? Am I going to ask the pastor? Am I going to ask the hot girl in the short black dress in the pew in front of me? Like, who am I going to ask? There's nobody to ask. And what I did was get copies. So I have about 20 or 30 of these, because every place I go, even if I wasn't attending the funeral, if I saw somebody walking out, many times I just throw these down in the drain, or if you walk through the funeral, I can see some. I'll pick them up and actually take a look through it. I think that may be how I got this one. So a lot of these people I don't know. But the most recent funeral that I went to, brother died on the 1st of February of this year. So I went in and I got memorabilia, etc. But what I did and what I'm doing and constantly doing is taking a look at the songs chosen by, you'd assume sometimes by him, but by the family, and then collating these and making sure that the top 10 songs that are chosen across denominations, across sexes, across different beliefs are represented in my repertoire. So Whispering Hope, Soft as a Voice of an Angel, Standing on the Promises of Christ the King, Does Jesus Care? That's a serious song. Does Jesus Care? Etc. The Lord's My Shepherd. And what I'm going to do is take, for example, those songs and walk you through the psychological stages of grief. And we won't get all academic and philosophical and psychological on you. Actually, we will, but we're going to try to tone it down and make it accessible to the layman. And these 5 stages noted early on: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. So you go through these stages of denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then acceptance. These 5 stages eventually, or maybe simultaneously, were changed into 7, of course, the biblical number of completeness. And one is shock and disbelief, then denial, and then bargaining or guilt. And guilt can take the forms of bargaining, oh, if only I hadn't if only I hadn't woken up, if only we had, if only, that's part of the bargaining and guilt. Then there's sadness and regret. In other words, that's part of the only as well. Can you hear the chiming as a sexton rings a bell at the Anglican Church? Then there's anger, like what the God, why me? Why this? Why them? Why him? Why her? Look at all these other people, like why not them? Then there is acceptance. So in other words, okay, whatever, bring it on. This is after, as I said, we have gone through that whole thing about depression, etc. And for most of, in fact, for all of the denominations where I attended, so these weren't any, Muslim things. These are all derivatively Christian or residually Christian. And the seventh one is hope. So after acceptance, there is hope. And it doesn't necessarily even mean not necessarily hope in the hereafter or belief in the hereafter. And we will see these by and by, or even more curiously, they're looking down from heaven. Well, whatever. But let us examine these, and as a musician, see if we can cater to these. Because hope can take the forms of, okay, meeting somebody new, taking on new hobbies, taking on new activities, going to new places. As a matter of fact, it might be finding a new man, a new whatever. And knowing this, it is also why it is, I certainly have to be careful or be respectful of, women who are crying on my shoulder at a funeral, because I want to say, look, I am not that hope. And this seems a bit rough. When I say respectful, I mean I always have 3 or 4 new white handkerchiefs if I attend a funeral, and this is just for that purpose, so that you can wipe the drying eyes. But also there's some secular songs which I think go along with this, and which to me are appropriate even in a church. One is, my best loved one is by Eric Clapton, Will You Know My Name If I See You in Heaven? And that was his son who died early, so as a youngster, a child. And he's asking, if I saw you in heaven, would you know who I am, that I'm your dad, etc. So I'm going to look at what kind of chord, what kind of sequence would appease denial, what kind of appeasement, what kind of resonance would you have if you want to arouse or evoke or soothe anger, acceptance, hope. How cheering is a Christian hope? Like the parts that go involved with that actually make me feel, it boys us up. When all those parts go together, it's a beautiful song, and which evokes spirit of hope, which is why when I go to a church and I hear them singing Matilda as happy birthday, Matilda, you take me money and run Venezuela. Are you saying then, Harry Belafonte? Most of the churches has adopted that as happy birthday. I don't celebrate happy birthdays, but I cannot hear that song without thinking of a Venezuelan, not necessarily a Venezuelan. Matilda ran back to Venezuela with her money. So how can you, doesn't the church board know that, we're trying to get the young people in. Oh, Satan's got you getting the young people in. They'll come through the gates, but not with the... Anyway, I digress. So, I don't ask people, I might crowdsource information, but I crowdsource opinions and things like that. It really doesn't, it's not research. Research for me is looking through the celebration of life of Oswald Vernon Elliott and seeing what passages, this is actually an extremely the quality of the book is actually memorable, etc. Classics, 1974. So wait, Oswald, what did I just see? Oswald, 1974. Class of 1974, Keon High School. So this, oh no, this was a year after I graduated. Anyway, Oswald Elliott, Arthur Morton, Conrad Arthur Morton Prokop, Stanley Franks. I know I had regret when I heard of his passing, because for so long I had wanted to speak to him and ask him what he meant by, Carl, yes, your house in Greenlands is where Pam started, even though he's a big labor man. And that's one of the things that I heard about him, is that he was able to discuss all kinds of things, including the fact that Pam started in the house which my dad had rented after we had left. It was around the same time that we had left. left left St. Kitts to go to Canada. So I missed that. Idris Kathleen Fellows. For a long time, I thought Idris was the name of a man, and who, from October 27th, 1947 to October 30th, 2021. So I've been collecting these since certainly 2021, and that was in Nevis. This is Constantia Fleming Brown. I'm not sure I know who that is, but I have. It was Ebenezer Methodist Church, and I know I didn't go to Old Road, so I got this from someone. And can it be? I hear thy welcome voice. I know that my Redeemer lives. It is well with my soul. What a friend we have in Jesus. Blessed assurance. I surrender all. To God be the glory. This is Constantia Brown, also known as Connie. This also well done, Serena. I just mean in terms of quality, etc. Serena Antonetta Laws, and whole big long story behind this, which we will go into at the time. But how can we go through these stages, as I said, of grief, remorse, regret, guilt, and everything else? We'll look at the songs. Well, let's take a quick look at some of the songs that they chose. Don't worry, be happy. I don't really believe it. When the roll is called up yonder, like that. Farther along we. And I realized that also, the day thou gavest, Lord, is ended. This is a typical, actually, for those who worship on the seventh day, this is a typical end of Sabbath, not only end of life song. So those are kind of things that we explore. Sharina Laws. And went to that funeral. Let's also see. Anyway, I've got tons of these. So by looking at these, and who's this? Juliet Marjorie Brown of the St. Johnson Methodist Church on Carden Avenue. I know I picked this up on the sidewalk in the drain. You know, this well, because really people don't really care that much, you know, once it happens. And I'm actually going to read something. Hang on a second, actually, before I go into this. Well, let me first of all play. This song, Abide With Me, for a long time I associated with death because it would come on the station ZIZ, the mornings when they would announce the deaths. We regret to announce the death of Carl Maurice Walwyn. And join with us as we celebrate his passing. Hang on a second, let me grab something. Sorry, I was trying to find a poem which I thought it was so well written that it is always appropriate, and one of the things that I think about if we are playing for this. So this is, as I said, just an attempt to show you that for different gigs, it's good to know kind of what the family believes, and curate the music, which in this case is solo guitar, to them. So I will be doing that today, and this will be part of my module 9 in week 9. of our kind of endeavor here to figure out how to be able to live instead of